to people in that role. So, I mean, they do have a little bit of a churn problem, and I think a lot of it comes from how they've structured that role. The problem is Toby, who's the CEO, very much a developer, very much not an A type of personality, very anti-sales, doesn't figure that anybody who's working for the best interest of the customer and the merchant should have a quota. So unless Lauren Paddleford, who's the GM and essentially running Plus, he reports into Harley Finkelstein, the COO, unless he's won that battle, because he believes they should, unless he's won that battle over the last year and change, they still don't have really any accountability in that role. So, one of the things we used to hear is we'd bring on a client, and the client would reach back out to us 60 days later and say, hey, I still haven't heard from my customer success manager. And we'd be like, are you kidding? It's been 2 months since we signed the deal. And I'm so used to having a process where at LinkedIn, you get a welcome email the next day, and then you'd have a scheduled kickoff call within 7 business days of signing. Right?
Right.
And that was the KPI. That was what the person was partly measured off of, comped off of, et cetera, right? Hey, are you getting your onboarding done properly and on time? So for me, it's that was crazy. I could not understand why there was no accountability in this role, and Toby wanted to keep it that way. I just found it super frustrating, and I found it I think that's one of the reasons why their churn levels are relatively high for a product that really shouldn't be, right? When you think about it, it should be a pretty sticky product.
Yeah. So, and that's still the case. They haven't done anything to try to remedy that.
As far as I know, it's still the case that Toby was still winning that war. Like I said, Lord Paddleford, who's the GM of Plus, has been pushing for it my way for as long as he's been there. He thinks they should have quotas. He thinks they should have churn numbers. That if they go over that, there's some sort of accountability, right? They get put on a plan, they get performance managed, right? There's none of that, right? There's that level on the sales side now where people aren't selling and people aren't meeting quota. They're going to get performance managed and possibly managed out of business, right, for underperformance. But there's none of that on the post-sales side. And as more and more of that run rate comes from post-sales, to me that's scary. As a shareholder, I'm a shareholder myself still. So me, that kind of, caution flag, red flag almost. Why aren't you guys doing anything about it? There's simple changes that you can make in the way you, not even the way you structure your company, just the way you incentivize your people to actually make these things happen. So.
Yeah, so it sounds like they have a bit of a management issue then.
I think there's a philosophical battle internally, I would say. Toby is so anti-sales. I mean, it's one of the reasons why, Shopify will never have sales because, core Shopify, because the price point's too low, right? You can't really make money just selling stuff for $30 a month or, $99 a month and pay people appropriately, right? Plus $2,000 a month and up, yeah, it makes sense to compensate people on it. But I think it's one of the reasons, when they established Plus, Lauren almost had to build Plus with salespeople, almost behind Toby's back and just be hey, we're doing this experiment and we're going to have salespeople, whether you like it or not. Because, your enterprise customers and stuff like that, they expect that. They aren't going to just sign up through your, Facebook marketing campaigns or your, marketing on house, they expect an evaluation process, some level of service. So I think there's always been some tension at the upper levels in terms of people pulling one way and people pulling the other way.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes
sense. Yeah, of course. And and then in terms of the some of the recent announcements, for example, this Instagram checkout, do you think that's something that is a potential risk for Shopify, or how do you see that sort of channel relationship evolving? Do you think, ultimately there's going to be more people that come in and compete and try to take more of the transaction, or do you think Shopify is pretty entrenched?
Well, it's interesting because like the news with Instagram, right? Like that's probably going to impact Shopify a little bit, right? With the Instagram checkout and stuff that's been rolled out in the last little while. Like I'm sure that will impact Shopify from a payment standpoint. I don't know how much, but you know, if Facebook, Instagram, and heaven forbid, like a Google or something like that starts to play in that space, rumors Microsoft might get in that space too. In the last few weeks, I've heard, which would, it would change things. It would definitely change things just based on, the size of those organizations' customer bases to begin with. I don't think it would have a positive impact. The only way it would have a positive impact is if any of those organizations did what Amazon did, which is basically say, okay, Shopify, your platform, your stuff's better. We're going to get rid of ours and we're going to endorse yours, right?
Right.
So I think that's the only way there's benefit to them. I don't see it any other way. I think it's one of the reasons why, what was it, 3 years ago, 2016, Google made an offer, right, to buy Shopify at, $130 a share when they were at 70-something a share when the stock had really dipped. I think Google wanted a presence in that space, and I think a lot of companies are seeing such a, migration to, e-com, and not only just e-com, but like the way people are buying through e-com, right? Like Shopify is allowing a lot of these people who used to have to go through, a reseller to sell their brands directly to consumers, which is very different than the traditional, you're a retailer, you sell your stuff to the buying team at Hudson's Bay or Target, and then they resell it for you, right? Like, they're allowing a lot of their customers to capture a lot more profit margin than that old model of doing it, right? Because, now I can go online, I can buy, a handbag, it's $300, and instead of that merchant only getting 150 of that and the rest going to Hudson's Bay Company or, Neiman Marcus, that's all going to the customer now, right? That's all going to the consumer. That's the beauty of the B2C, the B2C model and the way things have kind of flipped and changed. And from what I know, like Amazon really, really take advantage of some of their merchants, right? Like they are definitely turning the knife in terms of getting every, basis point they can out of everything. And I think Shopify has been pretty good at saying, hey, we don't want to do any of that too quickly and make too many drastic changes because we're still seen as kind of out here for the entrepreneur and putting entrepreneurs first. If we start cranking all these changes up and making your pricing changes, it may piss off a lot of people. So it's interesting in that way.
Mm-hmm. And so I guess on the payment side, do you know how much of their revenue roughly comes from payments?
Not anymore. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know what it is now. I would assume it's a good amount. I mean, on Plus, our attachment rate on contracts for payments was like 85%. So every contract that came through, almost 9 out of 10 of them had payments, Shopify payments on them.
Mm-hmm.
Now the problem is, it was a default option on the contract. So the real attach rate by the time those things went live was only about 75%.
Okay.
So because people are going, oh, I don't want that. I don't need that. I got my own portal. I got my own portal. I've already paid for it. I'm not
right
on the contract. So, the good reps talked through it, talked through the value and why you want it. The bad reps just defaulted to sticking the contract through the default tick box and hoping it didn't come back unticked. If that makes sense. Yeah.
No, and I mean, do you think that's a defensible business for them, the payments business, or do you think it seems to me that's a little more commoditized and there's more competition?
I think it's more commoditized. I think over time, if rates go, lower and you've got to compete, right? If not, you're going to lose. That's one place. If you're an entrepreneur or, whatever, you're going to do the math on it. And if you can get a